we continue our breaking news coverage. It's a great story. Brittney Griner released this morning after nearly 10 months in prison inside Russia. I just can't get over it. The WNBA superstar was freed in a prison swap early this morning. Former U.S. ambassador to Russia, that's John Sullivan, retired from that position in September after serving since 2019. He was also acting Secretary of State back in 2018, and he joins us from Washington. Ambassador Sullivan, it's so great to have you here, especially since when Brittney was arrested in February, you were ambassador at the time. I'm wondering if you could give us some insight into what goes on in the negotiation process, and where did they stand when you stepped down, when you retired, when you stepped down from your position?
Well, thanks very much, Gayle. It's great to be with you this morning, and you're absolutely right. It is a great day. It's a great day for Brittney, for her family, for the United States, for President Biden, and credit to the president for having the purposeful attitude toward this problem and doing the deal that got Brittney released. There's a lot of work that goes into this. The Russians are very, very difficult government to negotiate with, particularly on something like this. And having spoken to my friends and former colleagues, both at the embassy and here in Washington at the State Department and the White House recently, including as early as this morning, these were extremely difficult negotiations. We're dealing with a government that isn't bound by law or morals, our counterparty. It's not a typical diplomatic negotiation. And my understanding is that the Russians really presented President Biden with a take it or leave it proposition. One for one, it was Brittney. And unfortunately, we've had to leave other Americans, in particular Paul Whelan, still imprisoned in a Russian labor camp, IK-17 in Mordovia, Russia. He's been detained for just about 4 years.
Yeah, Ambassador, actually, I was going to bring up Paul Whelan because, we heard Joe Biden say this morning that he's still thinking about his imprisonment and thinking about his family. So it's obviously on the president's mind. Are the chances that Paul Whelan is released now reduced, given that Russia appears to have been unwilling in this round of negotiations to even put him on the table?
I wouldn't draw that conclusion. I think that the Russians had in mind a particular deal in this case because Brittney Griner is such a celebrity, so popular in the United States, popular, I might add, among basketball fans and others in Russia. Brittney's case really dominated the discussion and the focus. I think with Brittney now released, I know my colleagues at the White House and the State Department are turning with laser focus on Paul. So on the one hand, it's an extremely happy day, a joyous day that Brittney's been released. But on the other hand, I know if I were still ambassador in Moscow, I'd be focused now on Paul's case and the other Americans who were detained in Russia. So it's a happy day, but a lot more work to do, particularly for Paul.
Ambassador, quickly, and you mentioned that you have talked to a senior White House official with intimate details on what's going on with Brittney's release. What happens next?
You mean for Brittney?
For Brittney Griner, what happens next? How soon can she actually get home?
I believe she's en route in a plane as we speak and will be met here in the United States. She'll get evaluated by doctors. She's already, I'm sure, being evaluated by medical personnel on the plane. I'm confident, as we've done in prior cases, there will be personnel on the plane, medical, social, others, who will be helping Brittney. This is an enormous change for her. I'm not sure how much she may have known nothing about this transfer until they took her to the airport and put her on a plane. You can imagine what a jarring shock that is.
Oh, wow. but a good shock just to know you're on
absolutely
your way.
Sure.
Better than the alternative.
I know, Ambassador.
Sure. Ambassador Sullivan, thank you very much. We appreciate your insights this morning.
Yes.
What an amazing day for him to have seen Brittney. He was in the position when Brittney was taken, and now to see it full circle, she's on her way home. 24 hours, the President of the United States says, and she should be back.